Okay, so I wanted to introduce this our music clip of the day. I think we're in the golden age of beatboxing as it keeps developing. There's like three or four real top guys, and each song they release, they're trying to like outdo the next one. And
Huh.
so this is the newest current uh, you know, top coolest one. And we'll
Okay.
do about a minute and a half or 2 minutes of it. I'm
Okay.
starting like 20 seconds in
Okay.
uh, to skip the intro a little bit. Here we go.
Can I get it? Can I go in? Step into it. Can we burn it? Come and get it. Can we go in? Interview, no more Aventador.
All righty. Yeah. Chicken wing, chicken wings. Ugh.
How you doing, man?
Hey, doing well. Emery's
Nice.
done with school, so that's awesome. In the true summertime now. And
Nice.
that's about it.
Okay.
What do we got on the
So,
docket today? Oh, and I have
what?
a hard stop at like 12:55, 12:56 or some crap like that. That's when Rachel's
Okay.
leaving. I'm on with Emery.
Okay. Okay. We got to get back to the longer form, though. I feel like with less time constraints, I was liking those episodes that were sometimes going for, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm on childcare duty, so I got to be able to switch
Okay.
in.
Okay. Um,
Get
so, okay, where to begin?
it.
Where to begin? So, all right, I started watching this show. You ever hear of that show, Widow's Bay?
No.
I recommend it. I think it's really good.
Have you mentioned it before? My brain is saying you have.
No,
Maybe. Oh,
no,
no, no, no, no. Cool, cool, cool. Yeah, I see
no.
this.
Yeah,
Skeptical
no.
mayor in remote New England, island community determined to turn the struggling superstitious town into a tourist destination despite ominous tales of a curse.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I still have like another episode or two to go, but I Maria told me about it and she was liking it, and then my brother and my cousin, who's like a brother, they were both saying they really were into it. When they really like something, I'm like, all right,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and so they've got great taste, and they were like, yeah, they were basically saying the show's great, so I check out the show. Whatever, I caught a cold from Odin the other day, so I was like taking it easy. So I was like all right, let's fucking find a show. And I'm like, oh yeah, that show I wanted to check out. So I binge it pretty hard, and I guess the reason why I bring it up is because it was doing a great job, and I'm seeing more shows, I think, doing a good job of, and maybe in part this is due to where I'm at as a human being now, um, in that some of these things are speaking to me in ways that, I don't know, just have at least in part to do with where I'm at presently.
Yeah.
And so just like that movie Weapons I recommended to you a few months back, like that movie, I think this did a great job. It's like it's this new, more like realistic horror, where it's not just silly slasher or like, like that whole Boo approach, where
Jump scares.
yeah, jump scares. I mean, there can be a little bit of that, but I guess I just feel like that's just cheap.
Sure, of course.
And whatever. I think suspense is where it's really at.
Oh yeah, sure.
And so I think this does a great job of that. And um and basically after the first few episodes were like pretty good. I wasn't like loving it. And then it was like maybe the third or fourth episode, it kicked in and it did an awesome job. And it was like subtle. It was like spooky, and it's going to get spooky and horror, but it still doesn't, it's just subtle enough that I appreciate that. And so it's set up for the third or fourth episode where basically, do you mind if I go into a little bit of detail?
Of course not, bro. Go. Yeah,
Okay,
make it entertaining. Make it entertaining.
Okay.
Go for it. Especially if there's anybody who's a fan who ends up watching it or something, and blah blah blah. And I want to add something after you're done. So go.
Okay. So yeah, so there's this dynamic happening where it's like this island off the coast of Massachusetts, and you basically have, like it said in that description of the summary of the show, it's like this mayor who's trying to make it more popular tourist site, but then you have these locals who have lived there for their whole lives, and the mayor I believe wasn't born there, so he moved there and lived there, and he's trying to turn it into something new and bigger and help grow it. And there's a lot of these like townies, the people that grew up and lived there their whole life, and it sets up. So one of the things that really I appreciated about it, because again, part of, I guess it mirrored or reminded me or spoke to me of how the awakening I've been having since 2016 regarding waking up from the brainwashing of the culture that I grew up in and imprinted, which is, I would describe the culture that we grew up in as materialism. That's probably the number one characteristic of the culture, I would say. And it's materialism, it's material science, it's like kind of a, I don't know, for lack of a better word, like a materialistic liberalism. It's where there's this, you don't know it until you finally step out of it, how much of a brainwashed cult you've been. And you start realizing, oh my God, what have I gotten brainwashed by? And that's why, and so in the show, it does a great job of showcasing, for example, the mayor and some others who are more of like the standard, whatever, grew up in a more metropolitan or suburban place, or some place where there was like the culture you and I grew up in imprinted, that says, oh, anyone who says something is real that is not declared real by our masters, and by the masters, that means these institutions of, whether it be higher learning, of institutions of science, institutions of the corporate mainstream media, that all work together and that are ultimately owned by either the same or similar people and interests, and it branches out into archaeology, right? It would try to understand, say, for example, some of the pyramids, or the story of, when you start putting in, like, whether it's the pyramids or the Machu Picchu, or the were they the megaliths, or
Sure.
right, all these things, and then it's like, okay, wait a second, this is calling into question. So, like, the Graham Hancock, who's it, Randall Carlson, like those people who are help lead the charge of attempting to revise that history,
Mm-hmm.
and then they get attacked, and and again, in a perfect world, we would all, like, I say, like that movie Liar Liar, with Jim Carrey. If we could just snap our fingers and then no one could lie. You, like, imagine that, right? Imagine we just snapped our fingers and no one could lie. Like, how fast things would change.
Right.
And because all of a sudden you can't, like, it won't just be this harmonized gaslighting from all these centers and institutions of power that make it so that people like you and me, who are doing our level best to try to make sense of this madness, and we're not insiders, so, right, we just do our best. We read and watch videos and interviews and lectures and try to connect dots, but on the other hand, we're flawed human beings, right? So we can't help but have our own, like, ego hangups, or to use, like, the Hal Stone approach, we have the parts of ourselves that we lean into more, and then the other parts that we've kind of ignored and gotten away from, and then instead of working on our weaknesses and developing a more well-balanced approach to life and awareness, a lot of us and stick to what we know, and I've talked about this to you many times, where it's been a strange experience for me ever since Trump won in 2016 to question a lot of, because I think it's just so important that if you're in a cult or a group think, that you need to question it, and question it aloud to others and push back. And when you try to do that, you'll get attacked for it, even if you're asking honest and simple questions. It was like with Russiagate was just a big catalyst for me, because all of these people that before Russiagate had called me a conspiracy theorist and kind of dismissed me as that, now all of a sudden, when Russiagate came along, which was, I mean, a really bad conspiracy theory, it wasn't like some conspiracy theories, okay, you can't prove them. I mean, I don't know really how you prove much of anything unless you create a completely controlled environment, or you have your own anecdotal honor code, where, and that's the problem. If we all couldn't lie, then this would be a lot easier. Like, if no one could lie, this would be so much easier to get to the bottom of things. But because people can lie and will lie, it's really hard to catch them. And that's why I was so impressed by Jack Kruse when he went on Danny Jones that time and debated Cali means, because he was basically like, you know, he could say things about Cali means from afar, and then Cali means could ignore him. But to get him on a podcast live in person and debate the person and do it in good faith, you know, in good faith, but he wasn't nice about it. But he's not doing it to you know, he's not doing it in service of his masters and oligarchs. He's doing this for his own personal journey of truth. And but I'm just trying to bring up that cases as something that it was like a great public service, because going into that episode, I was a fan of Cali Means. I didn't know who the fuck Jack Kruse was. And I came out of it being like, oh my God, I've been duped by Cali Means and whoever is behind Cali Means. And it's weird for me, because when I've talked to you in the past about whether it's Maria or Steph or certain other people in my life that I want to help health-wise, that it's really hard to get through to them because you know they are so deeply invested and pot committed. You know, like I've told you that pot committed. When you're in a poker hand, you have the second best hand. You shouldn't be in it, but you're invested enough that you're like, oh, I'm in for a penny, in for a pound, and you stay. Then you lose everything. And these people are pot committed to bad science and to corporate science and corporate scientism, and they can't get past it. Like Maria's having certain health problems, and I'm like, you need to start doing these things, you know, and you and I have talked about it, and you're like, try to change up your approach. And so I've tried to change up my approach. And
no, if making like somebody better doesn't work, you have to try and make them worse.
Well, right. I mean, well, yeah.
It sounds terrible, but if a person is fighting the advice, then tell them to kill themselves, and then they'll be like, fuck you, I'm going to live now.
Well, okay, but if I tried that, if you know, say with Maria, she has these complications that Jack Kruse, if she was on with Jack Kruse, he would be like, oh, of course you're having these complications because of X, Y, and Z. And you need to make these changes. And if you make these changes, then in time, those things will repair themselves, and then you'll be better. But basically, because it's set up, or similar to when you were trying to talk to your mom about the COVID jab, like, and recognizing that it's going to be so hard to get these horses to drink the water, because the system is set up to, once again, harmoniously gaslight the person, so that wherever you turn, whenever you Google the top 20 searches, whatever you chat GPT or Grok or whatever AI service you like the top results will be, unless you know how to prompt the AI or you know, in advanced searches to weed out the bullshit, you know, to get to. But if you're going to try to talk to, whether it's your mom about the COVID jab or me with my dad or whatever, normie friends of mine, I've just accepted that it's such an uphill battle. Like, the only way you can just incrementally open their mind a bit more to a possibility they were previously closed to, but you're not going to get them to just, it's going to be so fucking rare to actually, like, a person has to be truly open to it, and then maybe they'll try it, and then maybe they'll get results, and then they'll be like, oh my God. But until that happens, they're gonna, like you with your mom, like, it was good, like, good luck. For every study you can send her, she can go on Google or ChatGPT or whatever and find 10 studies,
Sure.
you know, for that one study that support that, no, of course I should get the new booster,
Right.
you know? And so unless you can get that person to basically go back on, because you're really asking these people, just like it's similar to like with my dad with Israel. It's like they're so pot committed to this. It's going to be so hard. So how do you get someone to pull out of what they're pot committed to and become open to something that otherwise they're like 99% closed to? It's just really fucking difficult. And probably what's going to have to happen is going to have to be like with me, whereas I'm going to have to suffer with some illness for 25 plus years and try everything in the book. And then I stumble upon Jack Kruse, and then I'm like, all right, I'll try this shit. And then it works. And then I'm like, oh my God, all right, now you've got me. Now I'm listening more to you because, you know, but I had to have my own personal experience with that of awakening.
Right.
You know, and how do we, or another way, I was saying to Steph yesterday that in order, if like this world, we like on some level, we could all, if we were all dedicated to helping each other and being good to each other and kind and loving to each other, then it's like, so just like the idea of if we couldn't lie, so many of the problems would stop, because more and more people would get in line with that. But the problem is, like, because each one of us longs to be free and to freely express ourselves and be our most authentic self with each other. But sometimes that gets tricky because sometimes there are people that have so much trauma that their Rubik's Cube is so mixed up and jumbled, and that someone would need to come in a perfect world. We would have like a god or whatever come and fix all these Rubik's Cubes. And then we could be truly free and open with each other without, like, almost like, you know, I was saying to Steph, like, okay, as a guy, sure, I'd love to go to an orgy. And that seems like it'd be exciting and fun. But if I was a girl going to an orgy, I might, you know, I'd have more reservations because I might have more threat, right? So it would be similar to like the way like a guy is like, oh yeah, I'll go to an orgy. That'd be great. That could be fun, and maybe it'll be fun, maybe it won't. But like it'll be a different experience for a guy than for a girl, and it could be end up being a much better experience for a girl in the end. But I'm just saying, there's a threat level to the average girl that won't be there for the average guy. I guess you could say for the economics of love and attraction, you know, just because whatever. Women are the peacock that is more alluring, even though I know the male peacocks are the ones that are the more beautiful ones. And maybe it would be different if we didn't have entire industries set up to make women look very different than they naturally look, you know? Whereas guys, you know, what, you can wear a suit, you know what I mean? Or a tuxedo, you know, but it's not like you can completely revolutionize and do 180-degree, make it look completely different than what you really look like. You know what I'm saying? So it is a little tricky. But basically, if we had people that could all be these master Rubik's Cube fixers, you know, that could go up to people, which is, I think, what, if you want to give it the benefit, like someone like yourself, you are one of those people that tries to do that as a therapist, you know, and I think that part of why you have a greater chance to do that than most people is because you're aware of, at least in part, if not whole, how messed up the the whole DSM, the standardized approach to, like basically therapy and what we call psychology is so hijacked and corrupted by that. It should be about fixing the Rubik's cubes that we all are, and fixing them so that we can more freely interact and be who we are, with feeling less threat and less of a need to lash out and triggering the trauma, and then therefore less likely to perpetuate trauma onto others. But what the psychology system and the DSM centralized psychology model is more about having to, it's more focused on fixing the Rubik's Cube so that it can become a better cog in the machine, as opposed to becoming the most authentic and beautiful, tree from the seedling that we can be. It's not about that. It's like, oh, you're not doing well at school, here's this drug, or you're not feeling a certain way, here's this drug, or you have these thoughts, then you have this diagnosis. And I'm just saying, in a perfect world, there would be no corruption. It would be no lies, no corruption. Some things would be harder, especially in the short term. Things would be really hard because a lot of people like the lies, and right, and they want to be lied to, and they want to be lied to. They just like part of the people that set up this system, they want to make it so that people are smart enough to do low to mid-level operations, but like Bucky Fuller say, but never think about what the king does. Never think about what the king does. Because if you start thinking about what the king does, and that's what people like you and I do, that's where we, I guess you could say, go wrong by the, subjective judgments of the system that we grow up in. And now you are a lot better than I am at not showcasing or expressing or I don't know, like I feel like there are ways that you are a lot more sophisticated than I am in like I have certain rough edges that are pretty fucking rough that I'm okay with for the most part, but I really don't ever want to hurt anyone. And there are times when I recognize, oh man, I should have said that differently. I should have gone about that differently. Whereas I feel like you're much more sophisticated at that than I am.
Okay.
Maybe you would disagree in some ways. I don't know. But I'm just saying, I have certain, whatever. I have certain foibles and imperfections that stand out. And people, they're like, for example, there are a lot of people that are like, will say to Steph, like, wow, he's got really strong opinions on things,
Yeah.
because I spit it out,
Right.
I just let it out. And I feel like, hey, let me just get it out. I mean no harm. I don't want to upset anyone, but to bring it back to what I was bringing up earlier, the awakening after 2016 and Trump winning was how much of a bigot I had been brainwashed into being, because I thought I was like ultra progressive, and I thought I was ultra left, far left wing, and we were all about not being bigoted. And I realized, like, oh my God, we have these bigotries that we don't even realize. So that's very similar to say, like, my dad, he doesn't think he's a racist or a bigot against Arabs and Muslims. He just thinks he's trying to protect
Mm.
Jews, you know, and this is why, like, you know, I talk about wokeism, whether it's left-wing woke or right-wing woke, as these are all forms of that are influencing a certain amount of chauvinism. And chauvinism is excessive pride and patriotism in one's cause. And so, and that chauvinism can morph into like a supremacy and someone just being a true believer that I am just on a mission from God, on a mission of progressivism, on a mission to convert the bad people into good people. And it's like, okay, but wait a second. Like, who are these bad people? And then it's like, oh, it's these white Christians. And then it's like, okay, but why are they so bad? It's like, well, they're bad because whatever, they oppose X, Y, and Z. And it's like, okay, but why do they oppose those things? And well, because they're bad people and they're racist and they're bigots and it's like, or maybe it's just because that's what they grew up knowing and that's their subjective value system. You're not a better person than any of them. You know, you just have a different upbringing. And so you're more tolerant of that thing over there, but they're more tolerant of this thing over here, you know, and instead of needing to think you're better than them or superior than them, which to bring it back to the show, Widow's Peak, it's this thing that showcases how this mayor, he looks down on all these townies. And because basically this island is cursed and these terrible things are happening, and the townies know that yeah, this town is cursed. This island is cursed. And there are these monsters and these ghosts and these things that happen. And the people who consider themselves the modern, you know, educated, liberal, progressive, science-minded people, when we try to tell them what's really going on, they laugh at us and they say, oh, you're one of these idiot hicks, these dumb hicks, you know,
and then you're like, so you wouldn't come to the island with me? They're like, no, that's fine.
Yeah. Right? Or
it's all nonsense. Well, when you go to the island with me, no.
Well, so right, the show exactly, and the show does that.
Yeah.
So the mayor is like making fun of these people and condescending to them, and then finally snaps in front of the whole crowd and calls one of them a dumb hick. And then the whole crowd of townies goes, you know, it's just like that, you know, like that white Harvard like person, I'm a liberal. And then they're like talking to a whole group of black people, and then they just say some shit that in their African American studies class they didn't go over that.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
So they don't realize that they just blurt out this thing, and now the whole crowd of black people is looking at it like, wow, you're no different than those other people that you claim to be so different than, you know, and then the townies basically say to him, like, he's in a bar, and then they're like, oh, dumb hick. And then so they basically challenge him to go to this, you know, this old time hotel that is like haunted. And he's like, fine, if I go and do this, will all of you people just shut up about this and let me, like, you know? And so they're all like, fine, that sounds great. We'll do that. And then so he goes and has to bring like a video camera to it and film himself going in to these different, and then he has to write down a list of all the rooms that are haunted, and he has to go into each and every one of them.
Okay.
And so he does it, and then, you know, of course, he has to stay there the night, and then he experiences some of it, and in a way that is unquestionable to him. And then after that, he's like, oh my God, like, but he's not all in, but now he's, instead of a hard no on all this stuff, now he's just kind of neutral about it, / opening up to the possibility that maybe there's more to the story than, you know, like maybe there is something haunted or, you know, ghosts or whatever. But then it's not until he has a more direct experience with the next level of it, where basically one of these things tries to like, is about to kill him. And then one of the townies that he's at odds with, that he called the dumb hick, that townie comes and saves his life. And then, you know, it becomes, they team up and they start working together. And basically, this is, as I see it, like what we need to happen. We need to set aside the differences, you know, which is mostly semantic. That's what I'm arguing. It's just mostly fucking semantic. And this is what pisses me off so much, dude, is that I know that it's mostly semantic, and that the harmonious gaslighting is what's making it so that those thin semantic blockages are going to make it so that it's going to be so hard for people to come together. And I just feel like I'm one of those few people that comes from that fucking, you know, pompous, arrogant, you know, overeducated, liberal, progressive, you know, we're the science people, we're the rational thinkers. But you know, it's been so long, because for us, being called the dumb hick was us being called a conspiracy theorist.
Yep.
You know, that is like, you are removed from this conversation. Goodbye. You know, you're not a serious person. You're just someone who spouts a bunch of nonsense, you know, based on nonsense. And at best, it's just speculative, you know? And so we're just removed from it. They just call us the equivalent of dumb hicks and remove us from it. But it's like, guys, this shit is happening, you know, or say like that. I don't know if you got to glance over that thing I sent you. I sent earlier today from my dad, where I was blown away how I was just like, I shouldn't be blown away. I should be like, duh. But I'm still like, oh my God. Like, how did they not know this? Like, these people thought this war was going so well, even though they knew Trump was lying. Like, I talked to my dad a few months ago, and he's like, yeah, Trump is lying. We know he's lying. And I'm like, yes, but you say it on one side of your mouth, you think you know he's lying, but on the other side of your mouth, you know, you think this is going well. Like, you still are clinging to these narratives, and now you're realizing, like, no, this is a disaster. Like, this is the end, or the beginning of the end, you know. And I'm of the opinion that this was intentional, you know, not from Trump. You know, I think Trump is just a fucking, you know, useful idiot in all this. And
of course, he was like, look, I'll do whatever. I just want to make 20 billion. They're like, fine.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, here are your options. Either we kill you, you know, and we kill your loved ones, or take everything from them.
But first, we'll release all the Epstein VHS tapes, let you get raked over the coals, then kill you.
Yeah, right.
We'll make it as bad as possible. It won't be quick and easy.
Right? Exactly. And so, I mean, I'm so glad that I got deep into this for the past few decades. And I'm so glad I have you to talk to about these things, because I think you've done a much better job, and maybe you'll correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like you've done a much better job than I have of like keeping the fear or the anxiety that can come, like for me, it really started when I had that breakdown at the beginning of COVID.
Yeah.
And since then, I'm realizing, like, I was able to keep it at arm's length so much better before that, because it felt like it was, even though I deep down felt it was really true, I didn't know it was true. And so part of that vision in the breakdown was realizing, no, most of this stuff is true. and not all of it, but the basic principles of it are, and that now I have a child. It's not like it's just like me and I can survive, and when I die, whatever. It's like now I have these people I have to take care of, and it makes it more complicated to keep it at arm's length. You know, like I don't know how much you know about, say, for example, these. Have you seen the footage of them dumping these boxes of weaponized ticks
Yeah.
all over, right? All over the
Yeah.
country, right? So they're doing that, you know.
Yeah, I saw one video. I saw one video so far. I would like to see
Okay.
more or hear or have more interviews with people. Maybe there was one
Yeah.
guy I read his account or something. Maybe it was like
Uh-huh.
an interview. But yeah, I'd like to
Mhm.
know more about that. It's very interesting.
Totally. I mean, I've seen lots of videos of it. And then I don't know if you've seen, you know, but I would still be open to that. Whatever. This is some sort of propaganda, you know, fear propaganda.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's, you know, they're supposedly these weaponized ones that give you alpha gal syndrome,
Hmm.
which will make you allergic to red meat.
Hmm.
So again, it very much lines up with the agenda that they're going for. But then I saw these videos coming out of like these Google trucks. This seemed more questionable to me than the tick thing.
Okay.
But this was like weaponized mosquitoes that these Google trucks are driving around the country. I saw like one video of this and it looked too good to be true.
Mhm.
So take this thing with a big grain of salt, because I'd imagine we could just look it up and it'll be like, oh yeah, that was total nonsense and that didn't really happen.
Yeah.
But like these Google trucks going around releasing all these weaponized mosquitoes. But whether that's real or not, or whether the tick thing is real or not, we're not going to know until it's too late. You know, like we're not going to know conclusively until it's too late. We're not going to. There's going to be. I don't see how we can conclusively prove that it's true or that it's false. But you can be certain that they're doing all sorts of things like this. You know, whether it's the ticks or the mosquitoes or the chemtrails, you know, where they're dumping all that shit in the sky and and that's why ultimately I do think that someone like Jack Kruse, something that sets him apart from the Whitney Webbs, the Catherine Austin Fitts, or the Corbettes and the Jimmy Dores, is that he's not just talking about it and reporting on it, which is what all those people are doing, which is great, but he's actually trying to lay out, hey guys, there are some things we can do, you know, meaning we all need to leave the US, first of all, because this is one of their base of operations, the US. And they're doing experiments on us nonstop, like nonstop. They are attacking us and undermining our health in so many different ways, in ways that before COVID, I would have been open to all of this stuff, but I would have taken with a heaping grain of salt, because I would have been like, what do I know? You know, and I haven't looked into it that deeply, but I wouldn't put it past them. But what do we know? And you know what? Like, unless I knew for certain, why would I do anything about it? You know, because why would I act on something that I really don't know about? But now it's pretty clear to me that no, this really is true. You know, obviously with things like COVID, they did that, and they're trying in earnest for the hantavirus, but that didn't catch on. And now they're trying with the Ebola thing. That doesn't seem to be catching on. You know, but eventually one will stick, and then they'll get everyone scared back in their homes, and then they're gonna roll out a
Epstein
vaccine.
who?
Yeah, right. And Epstein who, you know, and Iran who, right? And that's why at least like Jack Kruse is like, hey, I bought all this land in El Salvador. If you self-custody Bitcoin, then you are not contributing to the Epstein class in any way, shape, or form. You know, if you keep your Bitcoin in an ETF or Coinbase or whatever, then you're still just contributing to the Epstein system, you know. And so at least there's one thing you can do is you can boycott the system and leave the system and not contribute to it in any way, shape, or form. And you can move out of their area of operations, which doesn't mean they won't move and start
Sure.
trying to bring El Salvador back into their sphere. You know, why wouldn't they? You know, and they're actively doing shit to undermine Bitcoin right now. And Bitcoin is part of this Iran story because Iran is like the #1 sovereign Bitcoin mining.
Yep.
So
what a coincidence, by the way.
right? What a coincidence, right? What a fucking coincidence. And again, Jack Kruse was talking about the Bitcoin angle to Iran months ago. And I was like, hey, if Jack's saying it, I'm open to it. But I was very skeptical. But now as time's going on, I'm like, oh, I'm seeing this angle becoming more relevant to the story. And you know, as Jack Kruse tells it, you know, Bitcoin was you know, in part like a Meyer Lansky thing, that Meyer Lansky got so pissed at the Rothschilds for their role in the Holocaust and what they did to all these Jewish people, that he said fuck you to them and the Rockefellers, and basically found loopholes to their money system. And according to Jack Kruse, at least, that laid the basis for developing the idea of Bitcoin, which was a type of money that would be outside of the fiat monopoly system. That wasn't just in America, it's basically the developed world and the lesser developed world are all part of that. And so, of course, they're going to try to undermine Bitcoin. If Bitcoin is what Jack Kruse says it is.
Well, they don't need to they have already undermined it in the same way they do with stocks, which is they create a platform like Coinbase or whatever and say, yeah, you own Bitcoin, but they don't actually even have to buy it. They don't have to buy the underlying there's no proof. There's no it doesn't matter. And the person buying and selling and trading Bitcoin doesn't care.
Yeah.
Because on my screen, I have 1.2 Bitcoins on Coinbase, and now I'm going to sell some, and now I'm going to buy some. So I'm getting all the perceived benefits of it. That's like what I learned with GameStop is that the truly, and it's in the contract and everything. It's not even like denied. When you buy stock from a hedge fund or something like that, they hold the stock in their name.
Yeah.
It's theirs. Like back in the day, people used to like request the certificate of ownership for the stock. And it was actually like a piece of paper that and they're like, we got to get rid of that.
Yeah.
Like, let's get rid of that. We'll just hold it for you I think it's called in the street name. We hold it for you. And so then that opens the door for is now I can sell as many shares of something as I want. I don't actually have to have it. I don't have to own the underlying. These are securities sold, not yet bought. Go look at like Citadel's balance sheet or something, and you'll see it's like in the billions or trillions or some shit of the stuff they've sold, securities sold, not yet bought. And then not even to bring, that's totally allowed because the reason for that is that keeps the market running. If I, the customer, want to buy 100 shares of something, but they've only got 90, they can go ahead and sell me 100. They want to keep the market running, you know? And they'll figure it out. They've got T plus 2, like 2 days. And then if that doesn't work, another 30 something days to solve that inequality in their balance sheet. You know what I mean? So there's ways out of it at that point. But yeah, you can sell what you don't even have. I mean, that's what happened with the FTX scandal.
Yeah.
They just had sold a bunch of stuff that they hadn't actually bought. And then they kind of got ratted out, or they were used as a fall guy. I'm really. I used to be way more knowledgeable about it. I don't remember it much anymore, but it seemed like perhaps they were used as a fall guy, maybe for the the whole situation with GameStop and all that kind of thing, you know?
Well, it's like a garbage can. You know, it's a place you dump all the garbage, and then at some point when the garbage man, when the music stops and the garbage man comes to dump everything out, it's like, well, it's all the garbage is right in there in that garbage can, and then you dump it. You know, just like probably what Lehman Brothers and Bear Stearns were
Right.
eventually.
Oh, of course.
Right. And I'm sure there are people that are much more micro knowledgeable about this and, you know, could argue against that comparison, and others who are much more knowledgeable that will say, no, that's actually a pretty darn good comparison.
Yeah.
You know, but how to exclude people from the conversation? How do you stop people from sharing themselves authentically? You say, well, this person's an expert, therefore they can share their opinions without being punished, you know. And if you're, you know, say like, remember, like, thank you for smoking, you know, it was, hey, you know, cigarettes cause cancer. And then it's like, are you a pulmonary expert? It's like, no, then shut the fuck up, you know. And they got to quiet, silence people. And, you know, people could speak word of mouth that cigarettes cause cancer, and they might put a label, a warning label, but you would have, if you wanted to really try to say that shit and take them to court, you know, they were going to be able to say, hey, you're not a qualified expert, so you can't talk on this. And the only qualified experts can. And that was an interesting thing with COVID, was you had qualified experts who were being disallowed from joining the conversation. And it was, whereas like 9/11, you didn't have many qualified experts chiming in on it. You had like a very rare few, but not many high profile ones. COVID, it attracted like high level experts that became, you know, like the truthers. Whereas 9/11, you didn't have, over time, I've seen more high level people being accepting of 9/11. But that was, it was such a third rail topic that there was no incentive for a quote unquote expert to get involved with that, because all you were going to do is likely hurt yourself, you know, because you were going to undermine your credibility, you were going to be called a truther and a conspiracy theorist and all that stuff, you know. But those of us who are not experts, and hey, what the fuck is an expert? Right? What the fuck is an expert? That was that whole Douglas Murray thing on Joe Rogan when he went on and tried to debate Dave Smith and be like, you're not an expert. Yeah, I'm an expert, and I'm here to give you a good dressing down on Joe Rogan and show everyone that you are just a stupid comedian and you should not be allowed to be talking about what's going on with Israel. You know, and Dave Smith is like, yeah, I'm not calling myself the foremost expert, but, you know, Dave Smith is pretty fucking knowledgeable about those things. He's like one of those people, right? Because an intellectual says a simple thing in a complex way. So the masses are like either get bored or turned off to how they go about their messaging or communications. But an artist says a complicated thing in a simple way. And that's why people like you and me, we can say complicated and be capable of understanding complicated things, saying them in simple ways that might actually really hit like normal people. Whereas if you're like there's a reason the average person wasn't getting turned on by Chomsky's analysis, you know, because the way Chomsky would express things and articulate things would bore the fuck out of most people, you know, and turn them off. It would, but when someone like me comes around and is speaking in a fiery way, all of a sudden people, like you're going to have people that still bow down to that antiquated, quote unquote, expert class credentialism, you know, appeal to the expert thing, you know, like people like my dad, he really loves those fucking, you know, people that's, I always speak in this calm fashion and I never raise my voice. And so, and to my dad, that's what credibility is, you know, and and okay, I get it. It's a stylistic approach that can be very helpful, especially in that old, antiquated way. But if you want to reach the normal person, like some blue collar, not someone who, like, oh, I went to these universities and these graduate schools, and a lot of those people that used to poo poo on me, now they've come to me and, they're like, I don't believe everything you believe, but I've come a lot closer to your way of seeing things now, and so I know that they're waking up in a little bit of a way, but I don't know that they still, whatever. They're not gonna, I'm not holding my breath for them to wake up. Um, but I think it's important for some of us to, like, I heard Kurt Metzger just did his show recently with this guy. And and at the end of the show, he was like this black dude. He was a really cool guy. And at the end, the guy was like, hey man, Kurt, I got to give it to you. He's like, you are one of like the deepest, smartest people I've ever talked to, and Kurt's just like us, or maybe like a little more like me in that he just like goes, and he's not trying to, pretend that I am this credentialism bullshit. He's like, no, he's like me. He's like, no, I have some natural intelligence, and yeah, I'm not an expert in this or that, and I'm not pretending to be, but I've done a certain amount of work, and just because the shit I'm talking about isn't said in the New York Times or Fox News or CNN, doesn't mean it's not true. And this guy, I don't know, it's just interesting to hear this guy's reaction to Kurt. Like, it was such a great reaction. Like basically, like, I just see how that stylistic approach of presenting yourself as an expert or credible and speaking in that way and saying a simple thing in a complicated way instead of a complicated thing in a simple way, how it's used to divide and conquer and compartmentalize all of us people from ever like truly getting together and bringing it together on the next level that bottom line is we need to. And if we don't, like, we're probably fucked either way, but I think it's one of the only chances we got, and I'd rather that happen before the AI and the robots fully get implemented, because they're not fully implemented yet. It's not RoboCop yet.
No,
but it's close, and it's getting closer. And that's what, in my mind, George Floyd and all that. That's one of the birds they were killing with that stone, with that psyop, was RoboCop. Was, oh yeah, cops are racist. Of course, it's just all racism, And it's like, but what's not racist, guys? Robots. Robots are not racist, guys. So we got to get rid of these humans and make it robots. And what's going to happen? It's like that robot dog is going to fucking come. And it's not racist. Whether you're white, black, or anything in between, it's just going to shoot you nonetheless, unless you do exactly what it says when it says, and instead of people, like, real progressive would say, hey, there are these terrible injustices. We have to stop these terrible injustices across the board. But what the phony progressive is we're just going to focus on the injustice done to this one segment of society, and all to the exclusion of the rest of it. And that's like what the Republicans are doing on their turn now. They're trying to, whatever, cater to the Zionists. Like the Democrats are trying to do it to, black people and LGBTQ. I don't even say the border thing to the Democrats, because I view that as a bipartisan. I mean, all this shit is bipartisan. It's just good cop, bad cop. Just like Netanyahu and Trump right now.
Right.
Where it's like, who's in charge? Who's the good cop? And Trump is like, I'm the good cop. I'm telling them stop attacking Lebanon, and then they go ahead and do it anyway. It's like, you see, it's not my fault. But then the next side of their mouth, they're like, no, Trump is in charge. He's in charge, right? We'll do whatever Trump says. You know, we gotta keep that myth going, right? That he's the one in charge. You know, and it's just all this like theater and fake wrestling and optics, and you know, but the and the people, the quote unquote dumb hicks, or the people that are religious that I used to look down on, now I just don't look down on them now. I just don't. And when I hear people like saying shit about them with no sense of irony, you know, like the equivalent of whatever, of bigotry, you know, I'm just like, wow, these people have not woken up from that cult yet. Or my dad is still, he's sharing these articles saying like, oh my God, this war is not going well, and this could be really bad. And I'm like, how did you not see this? How did you not see this months ago? Because all they ever listened to, all their sources kept telling them, no, this is going great. Like, we're winning. We you know, like Trump, we won already. We destroyed their military. We destroyed this. And, you know, and even though my dad was saying, oh, you can't believe Trump, he was like believing it, you know, he was believing it. And now he's sending me this.
Well, because we want that. If that's what you want, then when somebody says it, you're like, yes.
Yes. Yeah, totally.
It doesn't matter whether you like them or not.
That's true. That's
like
true.
We're having pizza for dinner tonight. Like, yes.
Yep. And even though my dad, he loves pointing out how MAGA is a cult. And it's like, duh. But you know, but he's like, and I'm like, you don't see that Zionism is a cult too. And everything, like my dad was saying that the people that wanted to censor Charlie Kirk were fascists because they wanted to censor Charlie Kirk. And I'm like, fine. I'm fine with that. I think those who want to censor, that's a form of fascism. But I'm like, to say that this is just starting with people wanting to censor Charlie Kirk, and that's fast. How about the people that, like, all right, Dad, well, how about the people that want to censor criticism of Israel? And then he'd be like, that's not fascism. You know? Or how about the people that want to give aid to the Palestinians? Well, no, kill them.
Yeah, right.
Because they're just terrorists, supporters of terrorism.
Right.
You know, and how these words and this semantic fuckery, you know, keeps us all separated in our own little prison cells.
Yeah.
You know, our own intellectual prison
Back to
cells.
Foucault again.
Yeah. And it's just so hard. But you know what? When I'm with someone one-on-one, like, they might eventually want to be like, all right, I'm done. Goodbye. I don't want to talk about this anymore. But if I'm with someone one-on-one, it's different when there's like multiple people there.
Yeah.
Because then they can start eye rolling to each other, you know, and take that little cop-out approach and just like roll their eyes and be like, can you believe this guy? This guy thinks that Russia was provoked in some way, you know, to invade Ukraine. Oh my God, this guy is a Putin puppet, you know, or can you believe that this guy thinks that standing up for against genocide, or standing up for the Palestinians, that this guy doesn't think that's just supporting terrorism. You know, they can always do things like that. But when I'm one-on-one with someone and they can't just escape or eye roll their way out of it, I feel like I'm pretty good at breaking through the ice if that person has any portion of them that's open to it. But But now I just do it much less. And I don't care to do it. It's not as much of a priority to me. I I wanna, I mean, I really wanna help. You know, I really wanna do more to help this. And and I'm not seeing many avenues to doing it. And I see how what they've been beta testing in Gaza and around the world, they're more and more bringing it back home. And and people like you and me might be willing to talk about it, but we're ultimately, in some ways, putting our heads down and hoping that the machine doesn't crush us and our families. You know, we're hoping to avoid the slaughter. And it's like it's going to be more ticks and more mosquitoes and more viruses and more chemicals in the air and more, like, next will be 6G, which is going to, you know, just increase the magnetic frequency fuckery, you know, all these things that before I'd been open to, but now I got like someone like Jack Kruse that understands what's really going on and calling it out, and that I trust more than anyone else scientifically on these things. It's, I mean, honestly, it's like I'm like, Dogon, we should be fucking moving to El Salvador, buying a piece of land down there, you know, moving our families down there, getting out of the way of this fucking Nazi Zionist American bulldozer that's coming to take everything, like everything of worth and value, but it's going to do it in a way that it's so brilliant, because so many people are just going to be like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Unless it happens to hit that specific target community that maybe you care about or pay more attention to. And I mean, and that's why it's like, being into Jack Kruse, it's I'm starting to understand all of these factors that really undermine our health, that it's going to be really hard to find doctors that are going to understand this stuff, because they're all have been so punished, and you know, so many of them, it's crazy. And that's why, like, Jack Kruse says COVID was a compliance test for the coming economic reset. And I think we're starting to see that this Iran thing is really about this economic reset, where this was not an accident. You know, they just don't care about America at all. They don't care about Israel at all, you know, or the people. They don't care about the citizens of America. They don't care about the citizens of Israel. They don't care about the citizens of Ukraine. They don't care about the citizens of China or Russia, you know, everyone, or Iran. They are totally happy with fucking over and killing and poisoning, whether slowly or not so slowly, all of us. And that's a tough thing to swallow. And that's why it's like, well, I'm doing all these things for my health that I'm feeling pretty good, but I see a lot of people around me, you know, like slowly descending, you know, and the shit has not hit the fan at all. Let alone, imagine the war starts getting hotter instead of this Cold War. Just, you know, because Cold War just means indirect proxy.
Oh, yeah.
They're not, you know,
give us one attack on American soil.
Yeah, right. Like, imagine you start adding that to the mix, which is just a matter of time. That's absolutely, like, I don't know what that time frame is. It might be 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 20,
it's not a
50,
0% like thing.
Yeah,
it's not like not. The moon is going to crash into the earth. Like,
yeah, like, this is happening, and and that's why it's like, man, I just respect and admire Jack Kruse so much. And I watched like some video of a few of his members go and visit him and film. Because he bought all this land down there,
Mm-hmm.
and so, for example, because he's this fucking super genius, medically and scientifically, he's building these rehab and wellness centers down there that are made of like, because El Salvador is one of the most like volcano rich regions, and he says that's and he says one of the big picture things, and this is one of the things that I'd imagine he would agree, that climate change is a narrative that's going to be used to say, hey, we told you so, when all these crazy things are going to happen, but it's not going to be happening because of carbon. It's going to be happening for other reasons, that all these things are going to happen. Like, there's a reason that Obama is still buying, and Bill Gates and Zuckerberg and all them are buying coastal properties. You know, they're not worried about the climate change as it's been presented, even though publicly they say they are. If they were, they wouldn't be buying land on those coastal areas that Al Gore said would have been flooded as of 5 or 10 years ago, but weren't flooded. You know, Jack Kruse is saying it's this magnetic decline, and that it's not going to just all of a sudden happen one day where everyone's got cancer, but once that magnetic decline happens, like the places like El Salvador that are very rich in volcanoes, they're going to have this huge advantage. And that's why I think you see, whether it's Peter Thiel, right, moving to Argentina, you see Kushner and Ivanka trying to buy that island in Albania, you know?
Yeah.
Like these they're diversifying their risk. They're setting up their families outside of America.
Yeah.
Like, they know that shit's going to be going down in America.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is going to be so wild. Like, once they start implementing the CBDCs, and it's like, you have to fully comply on all of it, you know, and if you don't, you will be debanked or disallowed, you know, from participating, from buying food, from getting a hotel, from buying a house or paying rent, or, you know, money will be gone. Your land will be confiscated. Like we were talking about with the stocks and the game stock, like, you're not buying the stock. You're buying something that's in an account, but you're buying it through some sort of intermediary that's going to hold the real thing.
Right.
But you're going to have this coupon or this a receipt,
an IOU,
or an IOU or a token, that as long as the music keeps playing, don't worry, you'll get redeemed for it. But
sure, you can buy and sell it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can buy and sell it. But one day the music's going to stop, and then all of a sudden you're going to try to sell it, and then you won't be able to sell it. And then you're like, wait, what's going on here? Which started to happen in a very, very minor way, the beginning of the Iran conflict, with like BlackRock and whatnot stopping or limiting the amount of withdrawals. You know, it's going to be things like that. It's going to be, or now, right, Larry Fink going and publicly saying, you don't like these data centers? It doesn't matter, because not only are we going to be building them, but we're going to be taking your money to build them. And it's like, what do you mean? How are you going to do that? Well, you know, all of your retirement funds, all of your pensions, all of your 401k, all of your stock holdings, all of your bank holdings. It's like, yeah, it's just like those stocks. You don't own the actual stock. You own this IOU. You think you own your house? No. You just own an IOU on your house. We can come and take your house almost any time we want. Now, if you are rich enough and powerful enough and influential enough, it might be harder for us to do that. And then we might have to, you know, the calculus will be different for each individual in the system. And probably most of the people, whether it's Bill Gates or Donald Trump or Obama or Biden or whoever, it's like all of these people who are facilitating all of this and working with it, whether wittingly or unwittingly, yeah, I doubt that they're going to have their shit taken away from them. Like they're going to be well rewarded for their role, but they still are subservient to it. And if someone like Trump or Obama or whoever was like woke up one day and said, you know what, I'm going to try to stop it. Like then all of those people will have their shit frozen and stopped too. It's not just us little people.
Yeah, we need a method. A lot of the stuff you've been talking about reminded me of Three Body Problem because of the lying part, is that the aliens are way more advanced than us, but they see our two greatest weapons as our ability with scientific advancement, the speed at which we progress scientifically, and our ability to lie. It makes us the most dangerous. And once the alien realizes they're in contact with this cult, and the cult leader who's talking to them makes like a joke, but like the joke is like a lie, like, well, when you get here, we'll eat some pizza together or something. I don't know. And the alien's like, wait, like, you don't actually mean that? And he's like, no, it's just like a turn of phrase. It's just like a joke. And then there's like silence on the line for a little bit. And it's like, wait, so like you can like lie? Like you have the ability to like say one thing but actually do another? And he's like, yeah, it's like a human thing. And then boom, done. They're done communicating. They stop. They're like, oh,
just burp. Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, we updated our understanding of human beings. Like, oh, you can lie. Like, okay, all right, game on, motherfucker, game on.
Yeah.
And then I can go for like another 10 minutes. Rachel said it's fine if I hang out for a while. She's got Emery set up.
Okay, great.
Up there. Blah, blah, blah. Right. Oh, well, I was just going to add in terms of suspenseful shows. I think you would fucking love it, bro. White Lotus.
Oh, I love that. No, it's a great show.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, that feeling of suspense, of just like this unease building up. It's not supernatural scary.
No,
but it has that intense suspensefulness that just gets built up the whole time.
Yep.
And then
it's very well written, and I feel like it's a really great social commentary on so many levels.
It's brilliant. Oh my God. And then have you seen the scary movies Smile 1 and Smile 2?
No, you were telling me about that last time.
Yeah, I just finished Smile 2, which was, I think, better than the first one just because they had a way bigger budget and the main actress is quite good. But again, just kind of a great metaphor for how trauma gets weaponized and passed down between human beings.
Yeah.
That was excellent. I played, no, I don't think I did play yet. I was going to play the Danny Sheehan. Did you see that on the Julian Dory thing? Where he's like, yeah, this is where one of the underwater alien bases are off of Guadalupe Island. And he has them pull up the thing. And he's like, well, this is where the Nimitz carrier was during like the Tic Tac incident. And they continue to monitor it. And I just thought it was like kind of outrageously clear, as opposed to there might be like underwater bases. He's like, no, there are. And this is where it is. And here's further details on it and stuff like that. It was like very, very interesting. And one other thing, you're talking about like kind of the black and white, like, the black and white thing. And there's just an amazing YouTube channel called Taking My Black Friend to Do White People Shit and Taking My White Friend to Do Black People Shit. And it's these two best friends. One's a black guy, one's a white guy. And they take turns taking each other to like these like
Yeah.
traditionally considered white activities,
Yeah.
considered black activities.
Yeah,
And it's just
totally.
such a wonderful, amazing, positive, like thing. It's just so cool. Such a brilliant, cool, amazing YouTube channel that's so not corporatized or anything, you know, when somehow just like normal people break through the algorithm somehow and you start seeing the stuff that is so it's just inspirational. It's just inspirational and
like transcendent.
yeah, absolutely. Well, it's taking the bull by the horns. Right? It's not like, oh, we should be more like or something like that, or like politically correct. It's like, no, I'm black, I'm white. No, I do this kind of stuff. I do. We're gonna do. You know, it's like going directly at it, as opposed like racism isn't real or something. It's like, no, it's really fucking real. But like, if we just deal with it straight away, it's so much easier than trying to pretend it's not real. And then like and just like, no, like the racism ended in the 60s with the passage of the Civil Rights Act, you know, like what do you mean racism? Like that kind of, or what do you mean slavery? It's like there's more slaves now than fucking ever. Like so just going directly at it as an amazing method, you know, which that was linking up to some things you're saying and then some of the things I feel like we're doing here, because honestly I was thinking this is the greatest podcast of all time because we don't just do one thing. We don't just like look at one area. We don't just look at politics or DMT, like drug psychedelic usage, or UFOs or Foucault or Chomsky or whatever. We're trying to look at the whole damn thing. We're trying to look at the whole thing. And in some ways it probably makes us scattered. But at the same time, this is the podcast I would want to listen to and watch and check out, because we're trying to look at the whole damn thing. I mean, I was looking at the list. We've gone through movies, television shows. I loved your phrase, harmonized gaslighting. That was so good. That might need to be the harmonized gaslighting, DMT and Epstein's VHS tapes or something. Epstein, robots, Foucault, stocks, UFOs, racism. Oh, like what? Wow, unbelievable! Like hell yes, you know. The hell stuff, Jack Kruse, Bitcoin. I mean, my goodness gracious.
Well, because see, that's the thing. I feel like so many things are so contrived and so one lane or two-dimensional, you know, as opposed to, it's like, no, let it be spontaneous. Let it be of a jack of many trades instead of, no, I'm only an expert in this one or two things, so I will stay in those domains. It's like, no, look, we are all our own unique manifestation of God. And so therefore, each one of us, what the universe is begging each one of us to do is to be as most authentically ourselves as we possibly can. But it gets problematic when some of our Rubik's Cubes are so malformed because some of us have had so much trauma and have not been able to process or deal with the trauma or heal from the trauma, and then learning from that of how to have more empathy and compassion for others, as opposed to just like, no, I have empathy and compassion for other vegans, or I have other empathy and compassion for other Zionists, or for other ones who are Black Lives Matter, or for ones who are LGBTQ, or whatever the fuck, you know, as opposed to like, no, we're all just fucking human beings. You know, we are this walking, Mars rover that is interpreting and picking up information, and we're just a walking eye of God that's trying to take it all in and understand it and make some sort of sense of it, not so that it can be packaged and whatever and sold it, but just more so that we can have a greater harmony that isn't about the gaslighting, you know, a harmony that is about unlocking each other. But it gets tricky. Like, I was trying to say we all need to be free and our most authentic selves and share ourselves completely. But then that gets tricky. It's like, all right, so let's do that. But then like, you're on the subway and there's someone on the subway that's like, I'm gonna kill you all, motherfuckers. I'm gonna kill you all.
Right.
And then it's like, whoa. Then it's like, we don't want to invite that person into our
not that authentic self, not that one,
right? And it's like, no, we need to.
That's a little too authentic.
Yeah, a little bit too much, right? And it's like that's where it's like we really do need people that are these master Rubik's Cube people that can really help unlock even that type of trauma, because I'm firmly feel so strongly in don't judge the person. You can judge the action, don't judge the person.
Hate the sin, not the sinner.
Yeah. But and that's easy when it's someone that's a member of your cult or groupthink. But when it's someone outside of your cult or groupthink, that's when people really struggle to have empathy. And that's why, and I see, I've heard a lot of people talk about toxic empathy. But my issue is more with toxic compassion.
I would say toxic kindness, where it's being nice isn't nice.
Exactly. Well, yeah, being nice isn't necessarily kind.
I'm saying, or just being kind all the time isn't kindness. Being nice all the time isn't niceness. That's a strategy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I would,
because what if kindness is going to harm someone?
Right.
So then you need to do something else. It's like the thing we're talking about earlier with like helping people, right? So like if you want to help somebody, you have to abandon the strategy until you have to keep trying different strategies until something actually works. So trying to be kind with somebody may not actually help them. So, but a lot of people will just double down. I used to, as a therapist anyway. Like I'll just keep like being nice. I'll keep reflectively listening. I'll keep using empathy and compassion to like get to know them. And I think at the beginning of meeting somebody that is really important, you do need to try to learn about them. But then it's about what actually works. What actually works? What gets you the result that you actually want? What allows the person to win and get what they want? That's the important thing. Right. And that we get attached to the strategy. And the strategy comes from our personality. The personality says, oh, like to be like helpful to somebody, I need to be kind to them. What do you mean 100% of the time? What about when that's failing? Well, that's when we go, oh crap, wait a minute. Oh, okay, hold on. Oh, I need to change strategy based on the situation. It's being present. It's being present. Then you can make a decision based on the data you're getting, as opposed to no matter what, I'm going to walk into this meeting and be nice.
Yeah. Right.
And maybe that works. If that works, awesome. But if you go in there, it's like have you seen this guy? He's got a YouTube channel. All he does, his job is calling people, pay him $1,000 per deal. He calls around and gets people the best deal on a new car. And that's what he does. It's like he just does what works. Like if he can be chill and the guy is chill with him, awesome. If they're gonna try and be a little tricky little bitch, then he'll be a tricky little bitch back to them. If they're super rude, then he'll be super rude right back to them. It's like whatever is gonna work. He'll try different things. He'll call different places. He won't get just attached to just one place. Oh, you won't give me a deal? Cool. Bye. I'm gonna call the next place. It's like a brilliant kind of, you see this idea of just changing strategies because what my job is not to buy a car from you. I've got to find the best deal for my client. My goal is to get them the best deal that I can so that I get paid. And so it's not about being nice or mean or whatever. I'm going to do whatever is necessary. I'm going to keep trying different things until I get a deal. And so there's like a ruthlessness, like they talk about in the sorcery books. One of the qualities of, there's like different qualities of a sorcerer. One is sweetness, but another one is ruthlessness. And And so we need access to all of those. We need access to all the strategies
Mm-hmm.
or all of our
Yes,
different personalities. It may be
yes.
more like, which side of my personality do I need to reveal? Because can we reveal our full self at all time? I don't mean like, do we need to hide something? I'm saying just in a situation, we're kind of dialing in the personality I'm going to kind of project. And so I think there's probably thousands of different those combinations that where each of those are authentic. But like there's only certain combinations of personalities I'm going to be around my son while he's under 13 or something, right? It's like there's certain, I'm not going to always be the same, but there's gonna be certain combinations. And so I think there's also the idea that we have many cells, we have many combinations, all of those are authentic, and that we can change and dial in those based on the situation so that we get what we want. And that if we're trying to deal with somebody else, that we're helping them get what they want. And what oftentimes is that there's a Venn diagram there, that there is a way for people to get what they want or get their needs met without like having to crush some other poor soul under your boot, you know,
without becoming
there's
ruthless.
a way, there's a win-win, there's a win-win, you know, there's a win-win scenario. And to seek the win-win, no matter the strategy, because who cares what you got to do to get the win-win?
Yep. Absolutely. And I would say it's the difference between being nice and being kind. Because I think kindness, like I argue, Jack Kruse is not a particularly nice guy, but I think that he's one of the kindest people. And I think that niceness, like sometimes kindness is tough love. Sometimes kindness is telling the person an uncomfortable truth. You know, that headache you've been suffering from, you don't just need aspirin, you have a tumor, and we have to get rid of that tumor, or something like that.
Right.
Whereas it's not nice. A nice person might be less kind because they don't want to break the bad news. They don't want to tell the person, oh, I've got some terrible news for you. You know, it's like, no, the kind thing is to, I'm sorry, but it's not just a headache. It's actually a tumor. And this is scarier than we thought.
It's not a tumor.
It's not a tumor.
It actually is a tumor.
Okay, maybe this is a little bit of a tumor.
It's just very small. Give it a chance.
Just give it a chance. You got your air, Cohagen.
And bro, I really got to call it.
Okay,
past time, but it was an awesome one as usual.
Yeah, awesome one, dude.
I'll post it later on and send you the link once I do that, and I'll see you next time.
All right, definitely look forward to it, buddy.
All right, bye.
All right, later.